Welcome to this workshop, and it's on balancing and optimizing your life. I'm very happy to welcome you all, and I hope that you're enjoying the symposium up to now. I think it's been absolutely stellar. I'm joined by Dr. Sharon Barr, who's also going to be doing the workshop with me. And our objectives of this is really to try and make it as practical as possible, to share some of our tips and tricks to optimize our time, to make our work be more effective, and also just hopefully increase a healthy balance in our lives. And people always say there's no real work-life balance. It's just one just works at the right time at the one time, and then so it might be that work's very busy at a certain time in your life, and then family predominates at other times of your life. But I think it's really getting the tools and tricks to make sure that we're not overwhelmed, because certainly for me, that's some of the feelings I get when things aren't just working in the right way for me. And so I've developed some ways of managing this. And I thought I would just start with a little brief background to myself and some of the things that I found to be very helpful in managing my daily life. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Smita Halder. I'm an associate professor in the Division of Gastroenterology. I'm the chair of the Medical Advisory Committee here at HHS. I'm also a new co-lead for the Equity, Diversity and Inclusion Council of HHS. And recently I've become master certified as a physician development coach. And you can find me on Twitter. My personal handle is Smita Luna. And then I'm just starting out as the physician coach on Instagram and physician coach on Twitter. These are my disclosures. I do research, and I have had some speaker fees for Abby, Janssen and Takeda, and I have no other conflicts of interest to declare. So some of the personal hacks that I find useful are, I have a very minimalistic life. I live in Toronto actually, and so I commute in every day, and so there's time. I used to find that 1 hour drive into Hamilton every day was a bit of a waste of time. But what I've found to actually make even more of an impact was decluttering my life, so that I wasn't having to find things or put things away. And we've, as a family, we just live this, we just have one or two things of the same thing. We don't really have a very big home, and it kind of really helps me keep calm. And I think I've got a bit of OCD, so it helps that there's not too many things to get messy, because I do have 2 children. And for those with kids, you'll know that everything accumulates, and so every now and then I have a complete, clean out of things and get back to a sort of a baseline. I outsource everything. Anything that I can have someone else do, if it sounds reasonable, I do it. So I mentioned this to Sharon when we were chatting about what we would talk about. And I had a professor when I was in England training, and she was about the only female professor that I've ever had. And she said to me that she hadn't actually cooked anything since about the 1980s. And I was a bit shocked at that, but it made sense. And it now makes sense to me, because cooking's not a big thing that I find very relaxing. And I know it is relaxing for a lot of people, like my husband loves it. But I find that if I can outsource even that, and which we do, that has minimized my stress when I come home from work and I have to try and get dinner on the table. So we have a local, it's a chef in the neighborhood who's just starting out his own business, and he actually loves cooking and has set up his own sort of meal delivery service. So we have our evening meals cooked by him 5 days a week. I do all my phone calls, if I can, while I'm commuting to and from. So I call home in England and catch up with all my family and friends, so that's time that I'm just sitting in the car driving on the QEW. I catch up with any issues work-wise as well while I'm commuting. The other thing I do is I do a lot of my sort of education side of things through podcasts. I hardly ever seem to actually read a book nowadays, but if there's a podcast or there's a book version, an audio version, I will do that, because again, that's 2 hours of the day when I can be learning. And I've done a lot of leadership training. I've learnt languages doing that, just listening to podcasts while commuting. everything's automated. I know most of you probably do this already, but I don't really spend very much time in my week thinking about paying bills or transferring money to anyone. This is all just taken out. And I also have one calendar that we have online that's for anything to do with our family, any events, kids' school, meetings, husband's work, all of that goes into it. So it shows up on my calendar every morning on my iPhone, and we make sure that everybody's on the same page. I also do, this is what I do for stress relief, is I journal every day, and I spend 10 minutes a day thinking about big issues in my life, small issues, whatever, and I just write it all down. And actually that helps me keep on top of things that I think need to, I might need to bring up with my husband or with my kids. And instead of, I used to make tons and tons of lists, but I find that I just day to day, I'm mindful of what needs to be done. And so that has really helped me also streamline my sort of family life. And that's part of my personal time every day. So some people run, my husband's a big runner. For me, just sitting down, taking 10, 15 minutes, even if I do some mindfulness or the journaling, that really helps me keep grounded and really just gets a lot of the stress relief that I look for per day. So work hacks, and I've learned a lot of these from colleagues of mine, or actually from listening to some of the leadership podcasts. When I really need to focus and get something done, like write a paper or read through documents for MAC, one thing I noticed was that I was constantly being distracted by notifications, either my phone going off or just the fact that an email would come in on the screen while I'm typing. So what I would do is I changed my the way that emails would come in so that I had to physically go and fetch them once or twice a day. And even though they would all pile up and there might be sort of 20 or 30 emails if I'm, at the end of a couple of hours, actually I got more work done when I focused on my first bit of work that I had to get done. And then I'd sit down and spend maybe 15 minutes with the emails and just go through them. And that was much more productive for me than picking up work because I've just seen an email come in, try to deal with that email or push it aside. And then I found that my day I just felt like I wasn't getting anything completed by the end of the day. And something that I've learned is that I deal with each email in one of four ways. I either delete the email because it was just I was copied in and I actually don't need to respond to anything in the email, but it was just for information. I do something right away. For example, if my admin says I need to call somebody back urgently or send a note to somebody, I'll do that straight away. If there's something that I don't actually have to do, but I need to delegate, I will do that. And then if there's something that might need doing, but not immediately, and I can get to it maybe at the weekend, I will put it in my to-do list of by Saturday, this article has to be commented on or sent off. So there's always something done in one of those four ways. I was creating subfolders for all of my emails and trying to put them into all these categories, but actually that's more work because when I would try and look for those emails, I may not have put them in the right categories to begin with, and I just spent more time doing that. So now I just archive everything because usually with Outlook or Gmail, you can search really, really effectively by just using one or two terms and the emails would come up. So that's something that I've learned to do more recently, especially with my MAC work, because I'm on about 12 committees. And so I get so many different types of emails. I do try and block off an area of the week where I just focus down on doing admin work. And that's something in my diary that's fixed. My two admin assistants, so I have one for MAC and one for my clinical work, they both know that that's time that really, unless nobody else can make any other meeting time and that's the only time off, they will make sure that nothing's booked in it. And there was a time when people were still booking things once or twice a week, and I had to explain that if there's absolutely no need for it to be in those 4 hours, then please keep it as focus time. I am on a lot of committees, and some of them I need to be on because of my MAC role. Other committees I've been asked to join. Initially, when I was a junior member of the faculty, I would accept everything because I really wanted to get involved and find out more about the faculty or the hospital. And now I'm being a bit more choosy, and I'm actually only really joining things where I feel I'm going to make a difference on that committee, but also more importantly, that it's going to enhance my sort of goal. And if I'm not really going to either contribute in a very effective way because it's not my area of expertise, or I don't really see it leading to anything that's going to be an enhancement to my career, I actually declined them. And that took a long time for me to learn to say no. But I always offer another person or another, an alternative person who would be suitable for that role. The last thing I wanted to mention is that when I joined as MAC chair in 2019, many meetings started at 7 a.m. And as at that time, mum of a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old, I just could not do that. 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. was really difficult. So I've asked a lot of the chairs and co-chairs to push the meeting times to 8 o'clock, as many times as possible, and it's actually been really helpful for other working parents on the committees. And I think that it was that comment made by Imogen Coe in the last session where it's always been done like that, so nobody had actually challenged it. And when we did challenge it, and I did stand up and say, listen, this doesn't work, I'm always having to rush from one thing to the other, they actually took it seriously and said, why don't we just try and alter the time, because it didn't have to be at 7 a.m. every single month. So I just wanted to just outline some of the hacks. Oh, sorry. And the last thing was that, yes, I limit evening meetings. Again, sometimes not always avoidable, but twice a week is my maximum for anything that's after 6 o'clock, again, for family commitments. So I'm going to now pass on to Dr. Sharon Barr for her tips and tricks.
So I'm the pre-clerkship coordinator at Waterloo Regional, and I do some work with the Program for Faculty Development and lots of systems work with Ontario Health. And there is my Twitter handle. Love to engage in conversation. The only disclosure I think that would be pertinent is just my role as co-chair of OMA Women, which is a stipended role for some leadership activities that I get involved with. So I have one slide, and these are my 3 favorite sort of hacks. And Smita and I had a good time when we were prepping for this, exchanging tips and ideas and leaning into each other. I think the first one is tomorrow is a new day. And so, what I mean by that is, it can be something as small as, I think I'm going to be very healthy today. And then my husband, who's a dentist, gets some sort of chocolate package from maybe a specialist's office, trying to thank him for a referral, or there's someone's birthday in the office, and lo and behold, it feels like the entire day in some way has been derailed. Or kids take you, or emergencies take you from sort of your scheduled activities. And I used to be quite hard on myself about that. And now I think, well, who cares? Maybe it's because I'm 46. And when you look at how many days that is, one day just doesn't make that much difference. So I do have this idea that I'm going to reset in the morning, and lots and lots of time to accomplish what I want to accomplish. And I really don't carry sort of the guilt from the day before with me. I think my favorite hack is really the second one. So I was at an OMA event that we were partnering with, and it was in, I think it was in Halton with Halton Women Medical Society. And we had hired a comic who used to be, who is a nurse and has a health background. And she shared this example of set time, not task. And it really resonated with me. So she gave the example of having like a super, super full pantry closet that for years she dreaded, frankly, even opening, let alone reorganizing. Why? Because she just didn't know how much time it would take. And there's just no point opening it up. And then at some point, she spoke with someone, and they landed on this idea, well, 45 minutes is better than nothing. I mean, right now you're doing nothing. And increasingly, if I've got an application to put forward, or, as a primary care physician, 250 emails in my inbox, I used to procrastinate because of how daunting it seemed. And now I just set the time, right? So maybe I have 20 minutes, or I've got 2 hours on Saturday, or I've got a few hours, let's say, in the day. I just feel that you can't fail. I mean, just by showing up, you have a win, right? And so that piece that sort of set me up for success, or saying I'm going to show up, and it's quite extraordinary actually what you can get done when you're in a mind frame and you just kind of created a sense of safety, space, and quiet, sort of solitude around you. It's made a lot of difference to me, particularly wearing a lot of different hats. As Smita was saying, it's really the only way I can kind of be successful. So just by showing up and doing something, I've set myself up for success. And the last thing is delegation. It's interesting during COVID because I've kind of been almost on a sabbatical, like doing leadership, and had a locum in my office doing most of the clinical work. And that meant that I was home with two sort of tweens, my son who's 14 now, and my daughter who's turning 12. And I was noticing, as you do at home, wow, there's more dishes because, of course, the kids are here. There's more laundry, there's more noise, there's more activity. And eventually it just sort of dawned on me that, they also live here. They are sharing this space. They're capable people. I need to lean on them to do some work. And, I think one of the things that's always a barrier for us and is, well, they're not going to do it as well, right? But at the end of the day, something is better than nothing. So if it was something like cleaning up the kitchen, okay, maybe they weren't very skillful, but they could put the dishes in the sink. Eventually they started moving some of those dishes over a few weeks into they learned how to put them in the dishwasher. Did I have loads that were packed strangely? Yes. Did I have loads that were maybe 20% full and that drove my husband nuts? Yes. But we were still ahead, and we were creating this sense of momentum. And increasingly, whether it moved from laundry sorting to loading the laundry to actually folding the laundry and putting it into rooms, what we noticed is that there was a bit of a shared conversation that was going on, where kids were actually starting to take pride in coming to me and saying, Mom, this is what I've done, or this is how I've done it. And so in some ways it actually created some strength in family relationships. And it wasn't really like these polarized activities or conversations. We were all kind of having similar conversations about how to advance the household forward. So I would say definitely momentum and not perfection.